Okay, so we're recording. Hello, my name's Miguel Dean, and I'm passionate about making a positive difference to the world, doing my bit. I think if we all do a little bit, all those little bits add up to a big bit. And one of those things that I do is youth empowerment mentoring. Um, and yeah, that it's invariably with young men. There seem to be a lot of young men at the moment in society that are, as well as young women, but there's a lot of young men that come my way who've just got a little bit lost and just need a little bit of guidance because it's a bit of a challenging, interesting time to be growing up, should I say, these days. So yeah, Izzak is with me today, as he is every week. We have a video call, and we just thought it might be a good idea to just make a little video about Izzak's journey. I guess just because of that thing when you can share your own story a little bit and share your own experiences. There may be other people who put this video up on the internet. There may be other young people out there that are struggling a wee bit that might be able to just pull some little gems of information and just help them in their journeys. So I'm going to stop waffling and I'm going to sort of hand over to Izzak and just get him to perhaps, I'm sure Izzak will say hello, just a really brief introduction, but just to really as introduction, just to share what was going on. What was going on for Izzak, what his life was like, what was happening when we first met, when he got in touch and said, I would like some mentoring sessions with you, Miguel. Over to you, Izzak.
Yeah, well, when we first started talking, it's like probably about 9 or so months ago. And I was in a really dark place, been suicidal most days, deep in self-harm, addicted to drugs, basically drinking a lot. And yeah, it got really rough. And now I'm here, I'm out of that at the other end. I mean, before talking to you as well, it'd been years that I'd just been sort of stuck in this cycle of self-destruction, basically, and just doing the same things to myself, harming myself, and yeah, not being stagnant, I think would be the word, just stuck in the same place, but yeah, never really growing and maturing and getting myself out of it.
Can you give a little bit more detail about what was going on? And I know that you've said that without getting too macabre or anything, but there may be people out there who don't really know. Well, what does self-harm mean? What does drug abuse mean?
Yeah,
Whatever. Can you go into a wee bit more detail, Izzak?
Yeah, me, it was cutting, slicing, burning, self-mutilation, yeah, like all over my body, for about 7 years or so. And it started off like when I was in secondary school. I would have been in year 8 or so, so I would have been about 14, 15. And it just started off small. It was like a little coping mechanism, almost partially attention seeking at the time, because I'd been bullied through primary school, and then I'd had to change school a few times in secondary school. I wasn't the most, well, I was bullied as well there, and I didn't really have any confidence. I moved to central London and I wasn't ready for that. And yeah, so I was a bit out of place. And to cope, I started harming myself because I didn't feel like good enough. I didn't feel appreciated. And yeah, it just grew and grew, and it became like a daily habit of, yeah, just hurting myself. And then that, with the introduction of drugs and alcohol, that was just another way for me to self-harm, because it's one thing using those substances for fun and having a good time, but using it as a crutch and to sort of try and progress with them, it doesn't really work, or it didn't work for me. It just caused more pain. But I was, at the time, I was just doing it because I didn't care. And I just wanted to not feel like myself, because I wasn't happy with who I was. And it was partly because of the environment I was in, but it was also me, and I had to overcome like who I was and just had to start doing little small changes and bringing in new things to make me feel like I am worth it and I have something to live for. And when I hadn't done anything for like years, I just spent time fucking around at school and messing stuff up and getting high. It's not really much to go off and feel good about if that's what I'm doing. So that's where the cycle of like self-destruction came in, because I just kept wanting to not feel like myself, but wanting to feel better about myself. And you can't really do those at the same time, obviously, because it doesn't work.
So it's kind of what you're saying is it like that you want to change, but you want that change, you want to change so that you want to feel better, but the it seems that often things have to get worse before they get better. So it's really easy to just go, all right, well, I'll just have another smoke or another hit or whatever, so that I can feel better straight away. But then the come down and it's like, oh, I'm back in where I was, or in an even darker place potentially.
Yeah, because I just wanted it instant. I didn't want to try and work for it. I didn't, well, not even work for it. That's not the right way to put it, but to like appreciate it myself. I just wanted something to. I hated being sober because I associated being sober with me being depressed. I got to a point where I'd been depressed for so long, I didn't really know what it was like to not be depressed. And then I got stuck in that, where it's just this, like I was horrible to people because I felt people were horrible to me. But it was really me pointing the finger at myself, having a go at myself when I was having a go at someone else. It was me angered at who I was rather than angry at them.
Yeah.
Drugs was a way to, and self-harm as well was just a way to try and like pass the blame onto physical pain rather than it being emotional.
Okay, right. So, and am I right in saying that? Well, I know that there was a few suicide attempts.
Yeah, many. Some more severe than the others, but yeah, it is. I've been in hospital, been like just almost dead on my bed, where I've like overdosed, or even tried to slit my throat, tried to hang myself. Yeah, and it's often been where I've just been in these episodes of disassociation from myself, because I would get so amped up and out of it and angry. And this could be when I was sober as well. This wouldn't necessarily be drugs. It was just so much like emotion that I'd just been sort of sweeping under the carpet constantly. And then eventually the floor underneath the carpet just breaks through, and it was like, shit, I'm in this hole. And I go so deep into it where I just sort of almost leave myself. And then following that, I have attacked people, I've attacked myself. And this has like happened a few times, but now it doesn't happen, thankfully. But I don't regret going through that stuff at all, because it helped me make who I am today. And I needed to suffer in order to actually enjoy. So it's good. But back to like the suicide attempts and stuff, it really, when you're in a situation like that, it really sort of, being at death's door. And I was never really that close to my attempts, in my opinion, because I'd done stuff like that quite a few times, and it almost becomes like a joke almost sometimes when you're that near to death so often. You're always like thinking like, maybe I should kill myself today. It's just like almost like just passing thought. It's like, oh yeah, I could jump in front of a train. And it's like, it's nothing. There wasn't any sort of like, hold on, I shouldn't be feeling that way. That was just how it was every day.
It just became the norm.
And like when it becomes the norm, you don't really have any other sort of basis to go off. It's like, oh yeah, this is just it. It was never a big deal to me at the time. It's kind of just like, yeah, if I end my life, I end my life, sort of thing. Which, it's horrible getting to that point, but you kind of don't realize until you get out of it. And it's like, oh shit, I was really sort of, that's not how I want to be. That's not how I want anybody to be. It's an awful place to be in. No one ever has to go through that. But at the same time, going through something like that can really help make you stronger and appreciate the beauty of life and the crazy stuff that can happen in it. It's pretty amazing that we're here in the first place. So why would you want to take that away? Why? I know why. Sometimes I'd be lying if I said sometimes I don't feel that way still. Sometimes it does get a bit like, what's the point? But you've got to make these little small adjustments, these tiny little things, and they really do add up. That's what you taught me. especially, is like all these little, because I was always trying to go for like the big change of being like, I'm fucking sick of this, feeling like awful and hurt. Why can't it just go away? And that's why drugs are so easy to go to. But I realized that I had to make the change in myself. And and to say that, still, I'm a work in progress. And yeah, but it's like it's tiny little things that really, really add up. Because my current foundation is now getting stronger, built up on more positive things. But before, I was built on a foundation of like lies and bullshit and just drugs and feeling sorry for myself, and almost rightfully so in some cases, because I was quite messed up. But I had to take responsibility, yeah. And just those tiny little things. Even if it takes like a year, 2 years. I mean, I was stuck in the cycle for like, 7, 8 years, where I didn't really have time to mature as a teenager, which is like, growing age, where I'm trying to figure out who I am, but I'd sort of already figured out by the age I was 16, 15 that I just wanted to die. And that was it. And then, came out of it now. And I'll probably dip back in sometimes just to remember, like, oh my God, I'm not there now. It's amazing to be out of that.
I think we're all a work in progress, aren't we, Izzak? And it's definitely this.
It's boring if you weren't.
Possibly, and that we move forwards. And then, as you say, sometimes we slip up and fall down, and we pick ourselves back up, and when we're ready, we move forwards again. We're all a work in progress. Yeah. So, can you say a little bit more about where you are now? That's kind of like where you were, and what's happening in your life now.
Now, I'm just sort of scheduling stuff and doing, like I said, like this little small things. So I'm not a total mess anymore. I'm not dirty. I'm sober now. I used to, like, very recently still, I was quite like deep into like being an alcoholic. Now I just enjoy being sober. I mean, I spent years just not sober, and now I'm like really appreciating, like, oh wow, this is actually really good, because I have these little changes of just my artwork. I've been doing my art, been playing guitar, just keeping stuff clean, getting on top of things before they inevitably become on top of me and crumble down. And just trying to get stuff together. And it's not fully there yet, but I'm in a much better place, and I can listen to my mind without freaking out.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about that in our sessions, haven't we? About the mindfulness and that the mind makes a great servant, but not always the best master.
Yeah, definitely.
You've come on leaps and bounds with that in your self-awareness and choosing your own thoughts and choosing what stories to follow that your mind weaves and so on. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so I guess a key bit again, which may be really useful for the young people that may be watching this. We've talked about this again quite often. There are three main things, aren't we, that we focus on in what got you from where you were to where you are now. Responsibility, understanding, and proactiveness. So perhaps can you just say a little bit first about the understanding aspect, what you now understand?
Well, I had to look inside myself to see, all right, where is it that I'm hurting and why? And, like, my dad left when I was young. I mean, I'd say most people have, like, that's fairly standard in our society now, that the dad's not around. And that never bothered me. Like, as far as I was concerned, I was fine, because I had, like, a fairly good family life, but then I started thinking about it rather than just being like, yeah, it's fine. And I realised, there is some sort of, like, missing there, some sort of, like, I don't know, it's hard to explain, because I didn't know what it was like. It's just, that was my life. But yeah, it's like the little things like that. And then there's, family members passing away, or just never really having any friends. Like, well, I had friends, but, there weren't any proper friends until I was older. I just always sort of felt a bit isolated. And that was something that I could just sort of push away, and it'd be like, yeah, that's just how it is, it's fine. But then actually thinking about it, it's like, oh no, this is having some detrimental effects on me. I am feeling like I'm not worth it. Like there's something I did wrong. And I never really knew that until probably about a year ago. It took me a while to actually like click in that, oh yeah, I've always felt like I was missing something.
Mm.
And then, yeah, taking responsibility, I guess, with that as well. That I have that emotion in me. I have to sort of fill it with other positive stuff rather than focusing on that. And even though I'd like not focus on it before, I had to understand it first in order to sort of fill that gap.
Understand to some extent where the negative behaviour and feelings and so on were coming from.
Yeah.
Okay. And then taking responsibility.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've talked about this thing, haven't we? To respond with ability.
Yeah. And as a child as well, you don't really have responsibility. So, it's kind of it's sort of like, yeah, well, things happen to a child, but as you get older, you can start taking control of things. And that's only just kind of hit me recently, and I'm 20 now, and it's like, oh yeah, shit, I'm the one who's doing all this stuff. Oh yeah. Kind of as a child, you're having stuff done for you, and I'm in the transition of like child to adult mentality, where it's like, I do kind of want to just laze around, but it's like, no, but if you laze around, you don't get anything done. So I'm swaying more to the adult side now, and yeah, it's a massive weird leap, kind of like once you get out of secondary school, you're sort of left with like, oh, fuck, what am I doing? I have no idea. I mean, I'm sure most people, if not all, have experienced that, unless they're still in school, obviously. They haven't, but yeah, that whole leaving bit where it's just kind of like out, it's like, oh yeah, this is a thing now. I have to do the adult.
Yeah, there's a lot of research, and yeah, I've heard a lot of people say, that the school system doesn't really prepare you for adult life. It prepares you to follow instructions and pass exams.
Stuff, trigonometry, or any of that stuff. I had to research how to use a bank though, because I didn't learn that in secondary school. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, with becoming an adult and leaving and stuff, you get this responsibility, and it's a blessing, because you're like, oh yeah, I can take control of what's happening now.
Yeah, that's the key bit, isn't it? Yeah, I'm in control. The past, I had no control over the past and my childhood and so on, but I'm in the driver's seat now, and the choices that I make and the action that I take now, which kind of brings us on to that. You've alluded to it already, but you've got really proactive, and sometimes in our sessions and at the end of the session, there's a little list of things that we agree would be good for you to get done. And invariably when we meet up at the next session, you're always like, yeah, I've done that, I've done that, I've done that. Can you give a little bit of example of just some of the things that you've started doing regularly? Because we talked about this again, there's good habits and not so good habits, and your habits make you or break you. What sort of habits and proactive stuff are you actually doing now? Give us some examples, Izzak.
Yeah, well, I just like basic one is just go out into nature for a bit. Just spend some time in nature and just be close to earth almost. Just sit there for a little bit and just to take in some fresh air. That's something I try and do every week.
Yeah.
Just have a little bit of time to myself. And it's like another thing as well, with just writing stuff down, it's so good. Just have it next to your bed or something. Just write it down and just keep looking at it every now and then. It's more effective than if you just remember it. Because I was one of the people who just was always like, yeah, I'll just put it into my head and then I'll get around to it. But then when it's in your head, it's so easy to go, I'll just do it later. But if you got the paper and you got a little box next to it, and that box isn't ticked, it's kind of like, I could tick that box, and then you get that little dopamine hit of it. It's like, oh, I did a little thing, and then you just start building these good habits.
Yeah.
So that would be like just simple stuff: going into nature, doing a certain amount of artwork every week, playing guitar, trying to practice my vocals. All these little things that before I would do them, but now I actually do them.
Yeah.
Like quite a difference between doing something and actually doing something.
Yeah.
all done it where we lie to ourselves. We're like, yeah, I'm doing pretty good at this, and I'm doing that, you know, and I'm putting enough time into this. Where you're in the back of your head, you're just like, maybe not. But then you just push that one aside. It's like, no, you're doing great, mate. But yeah, having that, just writing it down and knowing that you've actually done it, that feeling is just so worth it.
Totally.
Even if it's sometimes.
And you've made changes. I know that you've made changes around your diet, around you're drinking more water, you're exercising regularly. I mean, just things that kind of synchronistically turning up in your life, like you're doing some part-time work and you're doing your breathing techniques and you've stopped smoking and there's a lot of things there, Izzak, that I think they've just become habitual. So you've kind of like forgotten that, oh yeah, I've actually made shitloads of changes.
Oh yeah, it's sort of, yeah, when you're mentioning it, I'm just like, oh yeah, shit, I did. Yeah, kind of, yeah, once you break the habit, it's so good, because you just sort of, you get into a new one, and then it's automatic almost.
Mm-hmm.
You get into this autonomous system of improving yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's crazy how much difference like just eating a little bit healthier and drinking enough water does, because I was always a bit like, I'd much rather beer than water, at least when I was drinking before. And it's like, I'd never drink water. They said like, you have to drink 7 cups a day or something. I'd have maybe that in a couple weeks, week and a half. I'd have 7 cups maybe.
Yeah.
Now I try and every day, and it's like, oh, there's a reason they say that actually makes you feel better.
Yeah.
Said that for a reason.
Awesome. Good. And let me squeeze in a shameless plug in here. What difference would you say that we've been having? We meet for an hour a week, don't we? We do a video call once a week for an hour. And as I say, we've been doing this about 8-9 months now that we've been meeting. What difference do the sessions have? How does that impact?
It's just been like good to sort of, this is like a weekly catch up almost, and also just because you've obviously been through your fair share of shit, and I've tried speaking to people before. It just doesn't work, because I'm seen as like I don't know, like I'm just this patient in a system. Whereas with you, it's kind of, I can say whatever I want. I can not feel guilty about it, because I know we both made our mistakes, we both learned, we're both works in progress. And yeah, so being able to talk to you just on a real level, it's like, it's actually really good. And then obviously all the little things as well, where if I did all of this on my own, probably I would have been able to eventually, but it would not have been as fast, because with you, it's sort of, there's this push to make me do it, because like, I've got to do this for the next week, and then you can advise me on what I've done and how I've done it, sort of thing. Yeah, it's like, it's really good. It really helps a lot. Yeah, like I said before, it's like an avalanche of getting shit done.
Cool. Good. I think you said pretty much all the right things there, Izzak. Well done. Thank you. So, yeah, I think this, just before we close, perhaps if we could just wrap up with a little bit of advice from you. What advice would you give to, perhaps if there's some other young people that may get to watch this video that are maybe in a bit of a dark place, and what advice would you give them, Izzak?
Yeah, well, in a dark place, sometimes you're always told, oh, it always gets better and stuff. I'm not going to say something like that. It does, eventually, but we've all heard that. That used to piss me off, being told that. Oh, don't worry, it will pass. I just wanted to go, fuck off, right? No shit. You've been told by every single professional, or, I don't know, member of family or friend or something, and it's like, that doesn't help. Yeah, and it's like, for me, I used to hear, oh, it will get better. The minute I got better, it was like, oh, sometimes you need to suffer. Sometimes you need to go for that pain. And I say, yeah, if you are in a dark place, you don't understand how fucking happy you're going to be when you're out of it. And it's going to take time. Of course it will. Anything that's good takes time. Yeah, for the most part. And yeah, it's yeah, it's okay to be in a dark place, because it builds that character. It builds who you are. It helps lay the foundation, because it's like, imagine it if, oh yeah, it's like a flower growing in shit, in manure. It's, if you've got all this crap and stuff, and then it eventually does grow into something beautiful. It takes time. It might not get the right seasons and stuff. You might not get enough water sometimes. You might not get enough sunlight, but it will happen. And yeah, it will eventually be okay.
Okay, so there's that kind of, yeah, without focusing on the shitty part of it too much, that there is good stuff that can grow out of the shit. But if I can just put a few words in your mouth around it's about the proactiveness, the responsibility, the understanding that helps you move from just being a pile of shit to something beautiful growing from it.
Yeah, just try changing like one little thing of that, and then one other little thing. Just even if it's just once a week, or even once a month, maybe. Start small, and then just work your way up. Don't get ahead of yourself, because that's what my problem was. I kept trying to push too hard. Sometimes you just got to take it slow. It might suck while it's there, but eventually it does actually like kick in. It's like, oh wow, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Thanks, Izzak. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for for agreeing to to put your story out there a little bit and do this video. And yeah. So we'll see. We'll see. Perhaps we'll do another video and see where Izzak is in a year's time or 6 months' time or whatever. Because the changes that I've seen in him in you over these 9 months have been massive. So yeah, and if any young people that are interested in some one-to-one sessions with me, then just get in touch. My details are underneath the YouTube video, website to get in touch and so on. If in doubt, just have a chat. Sometimes that's the scary bit, isn't it? That first thing of reaching out, saying, okay, perhaps I need some help, and especially when, like you said, as Izzak was just saying, that it's you've seen a load of professionals before and there's been no help at all. So it's like, oh, why bother? I'm just going to try some other guy called Miguel, and he's not going to be the difference. It's just going to be the same old. But you never know. You never know. There's no harm in trying. So thank you ever so much, Izzak. You're a star. I always look forward to our sessions, and I also look forward to us not having sessions, because that will be when you're just doing it all by yourself and you don't need me to hold you accountable. But I can see that time coming before too long at all. So thanks ever so much.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. What can you say? What can you say apart from cheers? Okie dokie. All right. Thanks everybody, and thank you. Big, massive thank you, Izzak. Bye for now.